Listen, it is a frustrating and annoying feeling to get done at the end of the day and to feel like you didn't do anything related to your role as a sales professional. All you did was put out fires and administrative tasks. Nobody want to feel like that. Well, on today's episode, we have Anthony Iannarino, and he's going to tell us how you could free yourself and get rid of that burden of being overwhelmed with administrative tasks. This one is going to be a good episode. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist podcast here on TSE TV on YouTube. I am your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And as I mentioned, we have Mr. Anthony Iannarino on the show again. Anthony brings so much wisdom. Man, he runs an organization called B2B Sales Coach and Consultancy. And one thing that makes Anthony so unique to many of his clients and to people all around who hire him is because of the simple fact that Anthony brings a lot of business acumen to the table, and he's able to help sales professionals understand how to create immense value. You'll see that in our conversation, in our discussion and points, and you'll just hear that. You can also check out some of his books. He's been recognized by Amazon and USA Today. I mean, you name it, he's been recognized by them. And he brings so much wisdom with his insights. His latest book, Eat Their Lunch. I love eating people food, so it's a great book, but it's more about how you can take some of these deals from your competition. It's a very competitive world out there today, and we want to make sure that we stand out. But I'll leave a link to that. You can see that down below here on YouTube, find that information, or you can always just go back to our show notes and check it out there. But as we go into the conversation today, you'll see quickly again why Anthony is so perfect for this interview. He actually did a conversation with some other sales leaders a while back, and my team found this information and said Anthony would be great to bring back on a show to focus on this challenge of overwhelming administrative tasks. We go into the discussion with that insights, with that guidance, and he's going to give us some insights related to that. And I want you to take these actionable things that Anthony shared, apply them, and you'll see that one of the sources that hold us back is the email, wretched email. Anyways, let's go listen to some wisdom from Anthony Iannarino. Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you again.
Man, I'm super excited to have you on the show again, and super excited to pick your brains a little bit as we dive into this topic. I bragged about you there in a teaser a little bit, and about how some of the great things that you're doing right now. And this topic, when we decided to reach out and to invite you to come on a show, you mentioned that this is a topic that's near and dear to your heart. And I'm just curious if you don't mind telling us why you're so passionate about this topic, Anthony.
As you be more successful in sales, more non-sales related work finds its way to your desk. I mean, and it generally works that way because now you have clients and clients are reaching out to you. Now you have the challenges of execution. So you went out and you sold something to somebody, and now you're responsible for making sure that they actually get that outcome, because that's what you're accountable for when you sell. And so little problems start showing up in your inbox, and then bigger problems start showing up in your inbox. And all of a sudden you're doing a lot of work that has nothing to do with what we do in sales. So what I find is that a lot of people end up feeling really busy, and busy and productive are not the same thing. Those are two very, very different ideas. Busy means that you're running from one thing to the next, trying to get things done. Productive means you're actually making progress towards your goals. So these are two very, very different ideas. So it's very easy when you have an email inbox for people to decide, Donald, you know what? I want you to talk about this or think about this. I want you to do something about this thing, and I need you to call this person. And so the outside world, there's no barrier to just giving you things to do without you even deciding that you're accepting these things. Now, to be fair, some of them, when your client has a problem, you sold them, so they're going to call you, or they're going to email you and ask you for something. And what happens is that people get tied up in what I would call the transactional work of selling. So the client sent me an email, so I need to email them back. And then they didn't get a report, and somebody didn't give it to them, so I'm going to get the report for them to make sure they get the information that they need. And pretty soon that starts to dominate your day. And the more successful you are, the more of those things that show up. So the thing for salespeople to think about is what do we do? What is it that we do? We go out into the world and we find prospective clients or dream clients, I would call them, targets, people that are really going to benefit from what we do. And we sit down with them and we have a conversation about change. So we're the only part of the organization that does this work, that goes out and actually asks for a conversation to talk about what you should be doing different. And then we create an opportunity where there was none. And then we pursue that opportunity and we win it. So when you're retyping the invoice that was wrong, no one's picking up the phone and making cold calls for you to make sure that you're going to create the opportunities. So that goes back to accounting. If the invoice is wrong, you send that to accounting and tell them to take care of it.
Hmm.
Now, what happens now, particularly more than ever, is that people get tied up in the idea of I have to always be available for my clients.
Yeah.
So first thing in the morning, I'm going to open my inbox and check and see if anybody needs me to do anything. So you're automatically passive and reactive. As soon as you open up the inbox, what you're saying is, let me see what other people want from me instead of what I know I need to do to get the best results for me and for my company and for my clients right now. So the thing is that you're responsible for the outcomes that you sell, but you are not responsible for the transactions. So the transactions, they need a report, that's not yours. They need an invoice, that's not yours. They have a problem with operations, that's not yours. Now you might take the call, but you got to hand all that stuff off. And here's my favorite thing to see right now, Donald.
Yeah.
I can't block time in the morning because I have to be available for my clients. I have to be at the ready if they ever call. And it's
Hmm.
like, well, if you were in a meeting presenting to the buying committee on your solution, in the middle of that, would you go, oh, hang on just a second. I got another client right now. They need my help right now with an invoice that they didn't get. So hold tight. I'll be right back and I'll take care of you. Like, you're not going to do that. You're going to have your phone turned off. Like, you're not taking that call. So do you think that the client, when you don't answer the phone, they're like, oh, Donald's just ignoring me because that's just the kind of guy he is. He sold me and then he's going to ignore me. No, they're like, oh, he must be busy right now. I'm going to leave him a message and send him an email and he'll get back with me.
Yeah.
So the trick is to be able to say, I have to put my first and best energy on the things that matter. And
Hmm.
then the transactional stuff, I'm willing to help any client. I'll talk to people for them on their behalf, whatever it is, after I do the work that I need to do. So
Yeah.
you already got me started. Like, this is a near and dear. It's how you end up being in the bottom 50% is by not deciding what you're going to do with your time and prioritizing the only few things that matter: opportunity creation, opportunity capture.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're just spitting straight fire here. I'm writing things down as you're talking. And one of the things that I liked what you said is the busy versus the, was it the
Productive.
productive, right? Because and I've been there. I mean, I was raising my hand in my head while you're talking because I remember those days. And unfortunately, every once in a while, that still creeps up, and it's a nasty habit to break. It's like, how can I own? One of my friends named Justin Sua, he came on our show a while back, and he said, you need to own your morning. Like, how
Right.
can you own that for yourself? And for me, it's like, doing the workout or it's eating something because I know if I don't eat, then by midday, I have this killer headache and I didn't do the things that I need to take care of. When in actuality, those things that the clients needed, like you said, somebody else could have done that, or it wasn't mission critical at that time. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it just totally
Right.
throws off my day and throws off your psyche and your mindset.
Yeah, one of
So,
the things that we teach is that you need a minimum of 3 90-minute blocks in the day. So I got one clean block of 90 minutes for prospecting in the morning.
mhm.
No inbox, not looking at that. I'm going to tell you the way that I process inbox is sort of on my deathbed. I'm not going to say like, I can't die yet. I still have emails I have to reply to. Like, you're not going to say that. It's not the most important thing. I know it feels like it is, but it's not the most important thing. So you have to have a 90-minute block where you can say, I'm going to focus on opportunity creation. I've got to prospect, I got to nurture relationships, I've got to follow up with people I've talked to. If you do 90 minutes, at the end of the 90 minutes, if you want to pick up your inbox, take a look, see if anything interesting has come in, check your voicemail, have at it. And then give yourself a second 90-minute block, whatever that block is for you. So maybe you've got a big client presentation, you need to put it together. You'll find out if you block 90 minutes, the first thing that happens is you're like, Wow. When I have my phone on and when I'm in do not disturb mode and I don't have my internet up, it only took me 38 minutes to do that. Now, what do I do with the rest of my time? Because you're not used to being focused. You're used to having email up and your phone beeping at you and social media and all the other things. If you can get three of those in a day, three 90-minute blocks, that's 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
So 4.5 hours of proactive work, just a little bit more than half of an 8-hour day is proactive. And the rest of it, I understand you're going to have clients that need you, your operations team needs you, leadership needs you, whatever it is. You can give them 3.5. You just can't give them 8.
Very interesting. And I think sometimes there's some stat that was done that said salespeople on average, when it comes down to actual selling, it was less than half of the day that they actually spend in selling activity. So if you were to go with something like this, it sounds like this any seller would be way more productive than the average approach.
Yeah, I think the last number that I saw is that there's about 16% of the time actually selling, which is a very, very small amount of time. And it's because we've added all these different things to our workload. So I've got to take care of the CRM. I've got to take care of email. There's a whole bunch of things. Email takes most people a couple hours a day.
Yeah.
And I generally answer mine. I try to reply, and I was you had the experience of what it's like to wait for me to give you an email back, right? Because you're important to me, but email sits. I try to respond to all of them on Wednesday and Saturday, and in between it gets full.
Yeah.
But you have to decide: do I want my priorities and do I want my goals? Or do I want to be available to other people at all times? And you can't be available to all people at all times. You can get back with them though. You can be respectful. You can return their calls. And look, at 90 minutes, if you want to take the next 30 to do that work because it makes sense, then you do it, and take 30 minutes and return those calls, respond to the emails, whatever it is. But you just can't put it first.
Yeah.
You can't put small transactional work above your real work.
And there's a couple things that come from that too. When you did that, or let's go say we go through that process, right? When we were reaching out, and it made me realize that when I do have time with you, that is precious, and that I need to embrace that time, and I need to use it. And I think sometimes where we seem too much like to our clients or just to any random individual that we are, like you said, at their beck and order, it just kind of takes away that I guess our importance
Yeah.
or our worth, if that makes sense. But if my
And
client, if my prospect recognized that, I mean, you want to get back in touch with your prospects, you want to in a certain period of time period. But I think what happens with that, if the client or prospect recognize that I'm not jumping right at their every beck and call, like you're saying, they see that Donald's important, that the sales evangelist must be doing pretty good for business,
right.
and that when I do get that time, I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to utilize it. And the other thing that I saw too, Anthony, with my personal time, when I finally started taking control of my own calendar, was I saw that I would when I went with the traditional approach that I need to respond to everybody right now, I realized that I was still missing a whole bunch and a lot fell through the crack. And that made it, and I never got back to those people in a timely manner. And that made it seem that I was like, I guess, that I didn't care. When in actuality I did, but I thought I was being effective by responding to everybody as opposed to like what you're saying, set up times and respond in a reasonable time, but not just at every beck and moment because you can't
Yeah.
respond you can't get everything done at every beck and
I
moment.
I was in England with a client a couple of years ago, and somebody reached out to me with an email and asked me to get back to them. Well, so now I have a time zone problem, and I have time I'm giving with the client who's got a conference with 3,000 people there, and I'm doing multiple things, and it wasn't possible for me to get back to that person. And when I finally reached out to this person, he said, I would never do business with someone that takes 48 hours to get back to me. And I said, I appreciate that. We won't be a good fit. And I want you to understand that when I'm with a client, whether it's you or some other client, I'm not working on other clients. Like it doesn't work that way. Like if you have my attention, you get my full and undivided attention. I'm not somewhere else. And we parted ways with that. But that's sort of like that's how it has to be. Like if you're doing something like I'm with you right now, I don't have email up. I don't have a phone. If the phone it's on mute, I'm not going to take a phone call while we're doing this because I'm giving you my full undivided attention. And I think that's what you owe your clients.
Yeah.
So when you're doing the work that you need to do, you owe that work your best effort and your best energy. And when you are distracted by email and water cooler chatter, if you ever get to go back to an office at the time we're doing this, we'll see. Your dogs are barking, your children are trying to go to school, all the stuff that's going on when people are working from home. But you've got to give it, you owe that work your best effort, and you
Yeah.
owe your clients your best effort. But you have to decide that I'm going to be doing this particular thing right now and not try to spread your attention across all these things at the same time. So do what's most important and make sure that you take care of those first. So I like your guest who said own your morning.
Yeah.
I want to own my morning, and I want to own a good part of my afternoon too. I want to own that, because if you want to get results, you've got to put your time and your attention into the result you want, and nothing else will replace it. So you can be super great at email, you can be super responsive and not reach your goals because you're not willing to say, I have to turn all this stuff off.
A couple questions for you, Anthony, as well with this. What are some suggestions you would give when it comes to the CRM? Because we know everybody needs to update Salesforce or whatever CRM you're using. And a lot of the sellers that I, get with, they say you see to both sides. The sales leaders are saying update it. The sales reps are saying I don't have time. Any tips on that?
Any administrative tasks that you have to do, the first thing you want to do is aggregate them. You want to put them together. So if I'm going to get into the CRM, I'm going to do all the work in the CRM at that time. If I'm going to open my inbox and reply to everybody who needs a reply, I'm going to reply to everybody in that time. So you aggregate those and then you make time for it. So I would tell you my best recommendation, 4:30 to 5 o'clock, do your CRM. Like put the notes in from the day so that you've got them. I don't know why people don't like their CRM. So first of all, your memory's not that good. What did you have for breakfast last Thursday? You have no idea. I have no idea what. Like I don't even know if I had breakfast. I have no clue. It's
Yeah.
too long ago. But you're going to remember all the important things that a client said 3 weeks from now before you go back in for your presentation. You're not going to remember. You take good notes. You put the notes in the CRM because it's really good at remembering things.
Yeah.
And if you know David Allen's work, Getting Things Done, David Allen would tell you your brain is for thinking, not remembering things. And that's why when you walk past the batteries in the grocery store, you don't buy them because you don't know that your flashlight's dead until your electricity goes out. And then you're like, I wish I had batteries. Your brain isn't thinking about it at that time. But if you have a checklist, if you've got your tasks written down, if you've taken really good notes on what clients said, and they told you, Donald, this is what's compelling us to change right now. These are the three problems we've had. I get to talk about that in every meeting with them because I captured it and I put it in the CRM. So the CRM can remind me at any time what the content of our conversation was, but aggregate it, put it all together. Don't go back and forth from one thing, task switching. It takes too much time and energy. So you don't want to like do some prospecting, do some CRM work, then do some email, just aggregate them and put them all together. So if I'm in email, I'm in email. If I'm in the CRM, I'm in the CRM. Be clean.
Be clean, be focused. Another thought that I have too, I wanted to get your insights on. What about when it comes to breaking up those roles? Because you find, every team is different, but one of the things that I find that sellers who are getting busy, they think about the idea of pawning stuff off on a BDR or someone like that, to help them out, or even getting like an executive assistant, a VA to help. Thoughts, ideas on that? Does
I
that
think if
solve?
you can have a VA help you, that's great. I don't know if I would take a person whose role is to create opportunities and have them do something else.
Yeah.
And I'm more and more concerned, and I keep writing about it more and more about the SDR and the BDR role generally. And so first off, most people treat it like it's a qualifying conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So then the BDRs and the SDRs send me notes like, why does everybody miss my meetings? Because when you ask them, are you the decision maker? Do you have a budget? Do you have a timeline? Why do you need this right now? They don't feel like it was a lot of value to them. So they
Yeah.
don't want to come to your next meeting because you didn't create any value. And then they say, well, if I do discovery, then my AE is going to be mad when I hand it off and they need to do discovery because I've already done it. And it's like, yeah, it's hard. You have to do that. But I do think that there's going to have to be an evolution of these roles where BDRs and SDRs are going to have to become more uh, part of the sales conversation instead of sort of like, well, we don't want to waste this AE's time.
Mm.
The AE is already wasting their time anyway. They're waiting for the SDR to hand them something. Like, you don't need to worry so much about that. And I'm afraid this Taylorism, where we pretend that the sales process is a machine, and I'm going to turn the wrench 3 times here, and then I'm going to hand it over to Donald. He's going to weld something over here, and then it's going to move down. Doesn't work that way. It's a conversation with a client. So you have to think about the value there. I wouldn't waste a BDR or SDR's team on transactional things either. I
Yeah.
think that we have to do more to protect sales roles from things that are not sales related. And my best way to tell you this is, if you want me to retype your invoice, then I need you to make 80 outbound phone calls today to schedule my meetings for next week. Like,
Mm.
if I'm doing your work, then you have to do mine, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. We have specialists; those people take care of this. We take care of ours. But if you're not selling, then no one's selling. And if you're not working on creating and winning opportunities, I'll say it this way: selling is opportunity creation and opportunity capture. Everything else that we do is commentary on that. It doesn't have anything to do with it. I know that you have to put notes in the CRM and you have to email and all that, but the only two things that you're going to ever get paid for is going out into the world and creating an opportunity where somebody's going to get a much better result because of the work that you help them with. And then you capture that opportunity and you help them execute it. That's the only thing you're ever going to get paid for. So that's our job. We got to start getting some barriers put around what are my responsibilities and what's the organization's responsibility.
I come across sellers oftentimes, and you see this on LinkedIn where they're like, I have to do tons of research. Um, Starts
On
to
what?
chuckle.
What are you like? Are you a graduate student in a PhD course or something, that you're a researcher?
I have to
What do you need to research?
I have to research before I make my calls. I need to know everything as I can. I need to sound important. I need to sound like I bring in value to the table.
What that means is that you're afraid of the conversation, because the only thing that you need to know is that this company is in a vertical that we have expertise in helping solve a certain set of problems and get a certain result. When you make a call, there's only two outcomes that are possible.
Sure.
You get a meeting or you don't get a meeting. And if I call you and I'm like, Donald, you know what? I was looking at you on LinkedIn, and you went to the same school as my brother. I mean, we should be doing business together. We're practically family already. Like, how are you going to use that information in a cold call? You don't need it. All you're trying to do is get a meeting. You don't have to have a bunch of. You're not a researcher. You make
Yeah.
the call, and you're either, so there's three sort of variables for prospecting.
Sure.
Can I trade you enough value that you'll give me your time? That's the first thing. So if I say, love to talk about me and my company and all the cool things we do, that ain't a great value proposition. Yeah. But if I say, I want to share with you the 4 trends that we believe are going to have the biggest impact in your vertical over the next 18 to 24 months, and some of the things that we see working, what do you look like Thursday for an executive briefing? And even if there's not a next step, you're going to know how we think about this. And you're probably going to want to challenge some of your management team to start thinking about how you might address some of these things. While we're together, I'll hope that you will inform me on what you guys are seeing too. What's Thursday look like? I mean, I got to have a value prop. So that's the first one.
Mm.
The second one is conviction. So when you call and you're like, Donald, is now a good time? And you're like, for what? You called me. You must have had something on your mind. Is now a good time? Or they do it the other way. Is now a bad time? It is for you. You don't
Yes,
have
I'm
anything to
I'm doing
say.
invoices right now. It's a bad time.
Yeah, I'm busy retyping reports for my clients. It's if you don't believe what you're saying, and if you don't believe in your heart that you belong in the room with this person that you're calling because you have enough value to help them get a better result, they're gonna hear that in your voice. I mean, you have to be somebody who's a peer, and
Mm.
you can be respectful of people, but you also have to be respectful of yourself and be convicted about this if they're not going to say yes. So no amount of research is going to cover up your lack of confidence or conviction. It's just not, it doesn't work that way. And then the third variable is you have to persist. When you say no, I have to ask you again.
Mm.
And then if you say no again, I have to ask you another time. And I'll probably let you off the hook on the third time because I'd rather have the relationship than get into a battle of wills with somebody who can say no that I'm trying to develop a relationship with. But you do have to persist, and you have to be professionally persistent over a long period of time, which means I may have to lose one round and then nurture the relationship and then try again in a few weeks. But that's the thing that salespeople should be doing. They should not be worrying too much about research. They either are going to say yes to a meeting or no, no matter what you know. You can know
Yeah.
what kind of car they drive and their home address. None of
Yeah.
it's going to help you on a cold call.
No, I'm 100% in agreement with you on that. I think there's that this is one of those things. I'm doing a training program right now on mindset, and we're using partner with an organization called the Specific Institute, and it's kind of like looking back at neuroscience and why people do certain behaviors. And you hit the nail right on the head. It's not necessarily because you have to do any research. It's the simple fact that you just don't want to call, or it's the simple fact that you're, because it doesn't matter what you find out. I mean, I've seen people who spend all their time doing research and have all these insights, but when they can't get a person on a phone. If I can't get you on a phone, then what's the use of all that insights in the first place? You know, if you have that one value prop, then it's going to be clean and not jumping from industry to industry, focusing on that industry that you're in, and just killing it that way, blocking your
That's
time.
right.
Yep.
That's exactly it. I mean, and it really comes from in here. Like if you're confident, people are going to say yes to you. If you're hedging, McDonald, I don't know if maybe you might be open to looking at, for just like 15 minutes and like that doesn't sound like you believe that you can create any value for me. And so
Yeah.
that's the test. One of
Yeah.
my favorite stories about the CEO, Jack Welch, who was at GE when GE was GE, and they were either buying or selling a company every day at that time. And somebody would come in to the boardroom and start pitching uh, an idea of a company to buy, and Jack Welch would immediately just attack them. And he'd be like, "That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard. We would never do that. I don't even know why you brought it here." And if the person's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Welch," then he wouldn't buy it. But if
Yeah.
they're like, "No, Jack, you're wrong. This is a good deal. We should be buying it," then he was like if they're convicted, I wrote the check. And the reason I wrote the check is I just wanted to know if they believed it and if they were going to execute on it if I bought it. The only way I could tell was how confident they were going to be about the defense. And that's the way that you have to think about this. Like if you aren't willing to push to say, this time that we spend together will be valuable for you. And even if there's not a next step, you are going to have new insights and you are going to have some other things that you probably are going to have concerns about in the future. If you don't believe it, I can't believe it.
Anthony, this has been like straight money. And I know that many who are listening to this, they've maybe got a good sense of a refreshing of what they really need to focus on. If there's one major tip you'd give them as we wrap everything all together, what's that one major piece of advice?
Well, because we were talking about what you do with your time, do what's most important first every day without failure. And don't negotiate with yourself. Don't ever negotiate with yourself. Get to the point where whatever the worst and most awful task is, you do it without any hesitation. And I promise you that you will become more successful faster than anybody you know.
Love it. If listeners want to get in touch with you, what's the best place for them to go to do so? Not to
The
send a
sales
long
blog,
email.
yeah, thesalesblog.com.
Awesome. We'll put that back in our show notes, Anthony. We'll go ahead and send that out. And we'll also link back to your books as well, which are
Thank you.
recommended phenomenal. So thank you again for your time. Appreciate you.
Good to see you again. Thanks for having me.
Listen, that was Anthony Iannarino, and I highly recommend you connect with him. You can find his information down below. You can see the link pop up here on the screen, or you can go back down to the show notes and click on his link to go back to his website. Check out his book. Find him on LinkedIn. He is very personable. You can also follow him on Twitter as well. Great guy. I mean, absolutely great individual. Highly respect him and highly encourage you to check him out and to follow his lead and learn from him. I've been able to witness his growth over the years and just been a student from afar, and I'm grateful for his knowledge and his wisdom. As always, I want you guys to check out our friends, our sponsors. They give us some great value, man. You can find a lot of their information down below. Get those offers. Take advantage of it. It's for you. Use it. As always, my goal doing this podcast, and all I do is I want to help sales professionals, people like me, like you, to succeed and to thrive. I want you to be able to find more of those ideal customers. I want you to know what to say when you reach out to them. I want you to be able to close more deals. But most importantly, I want to challenge you each and every single day to go out and do big things. Thank you so much for watching. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video today. If you enjoyed the content, I ask you to go ahead and hit that like button, that thumbs up in the bottom right-hand corner. Also, to make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. This way, we'll keep you up to date with all the latest sales strategies, latest tools, and things that are going to help you to not only find more prospects, but to close more deals. Thanks so much.